Hello, everyone, and welcome to the first episode of the $3 podcast, your home for all things related to finance, where our goal is simple. It's to simplify a complex financial world and show you how you can navigate it to really put yourself ahead in life. My name's Kyle Clark. I'm the host of the $3 podcast, and I'm a financial advisor here at a firm called Gerber Kawasaki Wealth Management. I'm joined today by my two co-hosts, starting with Ziad Hijazi. How you doing, man?
Doing well.
Yeah.
Friday.
Happy Friday.
Excited for the weekend.
Yeah. Any plans?
I'm actually planning on hiking Mount Baldy this weekend.
That's awesome.
It's like a 8-hour thing, 8-hour escapade.
Takes most of the Saturday.
Yeah, most of the day, but looking forward to it.
Awesome. And then I'm also joined by my other co-host, Sage Casaga. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Kyle. Nice to be here, and same. Looking forward to the weekend and getting this podcast started.
Awesome, man. Well, before we kick it off, the purpose of this podcast is really to provide education and support to our listeners. And to really make sure that you guys are maximizing your financial potential in life. And we understand that there's a lot of information out there, and it can be overwhelming and confusing to a lot of people when it comes to things like finance, investing, business, and financial literacy. And we want to simplify this complex world to make it more enjoyable and fun. For everyone to really understand. And Z, why don't you tell us a little bit more kind of what our purpose and goal here is at $3?
Yeah, just to talk through a bit of our plans with this podcast. We want to bring on business owners and other professionals outside of the financial advising industry as guests on these shows. Every episode, we basically want to provide the opportunity for them to tell their story and how they became successful. Every single one of these professionals and business owners that we plan on bringing on, at some point in their lives, they took their career in their own hands and put a ton of hard work to get where they are today. And we want to be able to give them a platform for them to tell those stories and provide some life lessons for all of our listeners. And then twofold, we also want to relate that to financial literacy. At some point in these people's journeys in their lives, they realize the benefit of having someone on their team to help support them in the financial world so that they can elevate their business and personal life. And we just want to provide, show our value as advisors and have them talk through their personal experience on why working with a financial advisor was beneficial for them and what we really can do to help them and to help our listeners as well.
Awesome. And Sage, anything else that you want to add on to that?
Yeah, I'd just say, that's a great reason for starting a podcast, Ziad. Thanks for explaining that to our viewers. And, this is meant to be a platform to share the experiences of our guests and provide insight for our listeners. Every financially successful person has taken advantage of, some general well-known concepts and financial principles. At the end of the day, that's what this podcast is about, and we want to be able to help people achieve financial success, and people of all backgrounds, and we want to be that resource for you.
Very cool. And that being said, I want to have you guys tell a little bit about your background, how you guys became financial advisors. Starting with you, Z, tell us a little bit about yourself and why you got into this role in industry.
Yeah, definitely. Just to give a little background on myself, I grew up in Orange County, a town called Los Alamitos. It's right next to Long Beach, basically. It's on the border of Orange County and LA County. I grew up under immigrant parents. Both my parents came over from Lebanon in the Middle East, and they did a great job of just instilling in my siblings and I at a young age the idea of giving back. We were really involved in our community. We volunteered for the city. I was involved in Boy Scouts for a while as a kid. I served on a student government, and so when it came time for me to start generally thinking about what career I wanted to do, it was very natural for me to want to do something where I felt like I was helping people or where I knew I was having an impact on people's lives. And so went to school at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, also Sage's alma mater.
Go Mustangs.
Go Mustangs, yep. And, I studied business there. Really had no idea I was going to fall in love with investing, but once I learned what it was and everything about the landscape, I took every class and joined every club I could relating to it. Ended my senior year helping manage over $600,000 of our school's endowment fund. I know Sage actually did the same project.
It was 750,000 by the time I got there.
Yeah. Just remember where that came from. We worked together there, right? I'm just playing, but that was a great experience. And so when it came time to really get serious about a career, I knew that I wanted to do something where I could take my background on finance and my interest in investing and my passion for people, most importantly, and combine that. And financial advising really is a no-brainer in terms of doing that. I get to do all of that, and been working at GK since, and I've been loving it here. So
that's awesome, man.
Yeah,
that's cool. Thanks for sharing that. And Sage, what about you? You obviously went to the same school as Ziad, have your own unique background as well. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, of course. So I grew up in deep in Southern California in a small city called Murrieta, about an hour north of San Diego and a little bit inland. Grew up successful small business owners as parents, and I was actually the middle child. We were a big sports family, and I actually played Division I golf in college and had that opportunity. So that was a great experience. I'd hear a lot of wealthy individuals and families talk about their personal finances on the golf course, and kind of realized many of these people didn't really know what they were talking about, right? They weren't necessarily financially savvy. They had great careers, but didn't really know, the ins and outs of personal finance and really how to build wealth. And so, I read a lot of books when I was younger about investing, and super into stocks and investing in college. And I also had that same experience of managing the portfolio for my last year in college, and really just wanted a career where I could help others build wealth and kind of be that resource for them. And that's when I found Gerber Kawasaki, and I've loved my time here, and I'm super excited to be in this position to help other people.
Cool, man. Awesome. Well, thanks for sharing that, guys. And to provide a little bit more background about me and kind of why I got into this industry to begin with is born and raised in Sacramento, California, raised by two hardworking blue-collar folks, and went to school at Loyola Marymount University down here in LA. Go Lions! I know I'm surrounded by two Mustangs, but got to give a shout out to the Lions. I had an amazing opportunity after college to go work down in the venture capital space, and got to work with some really prominent investors and titans in their industry, like Lance Helfer, who was my mentor. Got to work with Paul Orfala, founder of Kinko's Printing. He, had an amazing opportunity to work with him. And then also a lot of prominent business owners, wealthy investors, and really see firsthand, how these people who are super successful in life, how do they do it financially? And I was really inspired by that and realized, a lot of people could really benefit from the things that I was learning when it comes to things like financial literacy, investing. And so ultimately I wanted to come back to LA just because it was home for me. A lot of my friends from college were still in the local area, as well as my girlfriend. And so I wanted to come back home to a place that felt like home, and really, help those people regardless of how much money that they have, just like my parents, just like my family and friends, who really could have benefited and do benefit now with the work that I've been doing with them, working at GK with you guys. Yeah. And it's just been a truly incredible experience to be able to help people, especially during times like this with COVID going on.
Oh, yeah.
And so with that being said, for our first episode and why we started this, normally we have someone on who's a business owner, who's going through those experiences, like we had talked about the purpose of why we had this podcast. But before going into kind of the next phase of what we're looking to do with this podcast, I do want to share some important disclosures with our listeners before getting too much into it, and mention that all the things that we talk about on $3 and on this show should not be taken as personal advice, or personal investment advice for that matter. And you should always consult with an investment professional before making any types of financial decisions. And so that being said, I want to get into our next segment, which we like to call our 2 cents. where this part of the show we get into topics that we find interesting, that we want to talk about and share our 2 cents and what we feel our opinions and what's going on with the economy, with different businesses, with stocks, investing, really anything. And so I want to throw the first one out there for our initial episode on the difference between gambling and investing. Okay, this is a very controversial topic in the sense I always hear people saying, the stock market is gambling, right? It's basically you don't know what's going to happen with your money. It's a crapshoot, just like Vegas. And so I wanted to get your guys' 2 cents and your opinions on how you guys view that, what you feel is the difference, or maybe it's the similarities, or maybe it's the exact same word, just said in a different kind of context, but the difference between gambling and investing. I'll start with you, Z.
It's so funny because I got that exact question from my mom when I first started this job. When I told her I was going to be a financial advisor, she's like, "Well, what's the difference?" I had me thinking about it a lot. I really think the big thing between gambling and investing, like gambling is it's more of a game of chance. It's really about a single instant or a single moment when it comes to you're betting on something. It can feel similar a lot of the times in terms of, hey, you're putting your money in, you're either going to lose it or you're going to make it. But investing is a lot more about consistent growth, about, what you're actually putting your money into is a growing business, right? And when you invest, whether it be through stocks or through bonds or through real estate, whatever it may be, you're investing in cash flow, you're investing in something that has a business plan behind it, it has a product or a service to offer, I think there's a big difference between investing in, say, Google, right, versus betting on a basketball game, right, or and really I think the big correlation that people make between gambling and investing comes to when people talk about trading more than you talk about investing, right? And I think there's a big differentiator with that as well, and how investing is so much more long-term, and that's exactly how we conduct ourselves here at Gerber Kawasaki's. We are looking for the long-term. We're here to invest in a manner that aligns with your goals further out, and we're picking businesses that we really do believe are going to be the future of this economy and this in our society. And it's one of the big reasons why I joined GK, especially is because of how forward-looking we are when it comes to investing in businesses. But I don't think by any means you should think of investing as gambling. They are very different. They can feel similar, but especially if you're working with a professional, there's definitely a huge differentiation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And Sage, what's kind of your 2 cents on that?
Yeah, so, Ziad kind of touched on it a little bit. It's different because we build a financial plan, right? And you kind of tailor your investing towards that financial plan that we would build for you. And so in that sense, it's not really like gambling, right? And I do kind of agree, I guess you could kind of think of it as, they both have risk involved, right? Like investing does have risk as well as gambling. So that's what's similar about the two. But, when you look at it, you kind of can have a calculated risk, right? And so I think investing, like Ziad was saying, it's more for the long term. Obviously, if you're day trading, that's a little bit more like gambling, right? But like Ziad was mentioning, we're in it for the long term, and it's very different.
Yeah, for sure. And I couldn't agree with you more. The importance of just timeline of when you're expecting this type of return on the initial, principal that you put in, whether it's, gambling at a casino, the initial money you put in, you're expecting immediate results versus, a longer duration of expecting over time, I'm going to make money, which I think is the big kind of differentiation between the two. Not to mention, I think with gambling, it has a more stacked against you in terms of odds. So when you go to Vegas, right, and you sit at a roulette table or you sit at a 21 or a blackjack table, right, the odds are stacked against you already because the house has baked in the probability through, their variations of how they distribute cards, how they shuffle, how many decks, like all these different factors come in to be in the house's favor. And with investing, that it really isn't present because there isn't like necessarily an active force that is trying to outperform you per se.
Yeah.
There's not like a house where they're trying to put the odds in their favor. With investing, you have underlying companies that put the odds actually in your favor in the sense that you're investing in them for the long term and everyone's kind of together in this longer duration than just 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Right?
I would like to add to that, it's actually the opposite of the odds are against yourself. The odds are with you in the stock market. If you look over the long history, on an annual basis, it's like 11%. And so, the odds are with you in investing, whereas gambling, like you said, they're against you. So very different.
Yeah, definitely. And, we always tell our clients kind of the timeline and things to think about within the stock market. If you were to invest within, any 15-year period within 1950 to say 2018, right, stocks have never been down. And so those are the types of things I think people don't understand about the market, is that as long as you have an investor's mentality and not kind of like that gambling mindset of immediate results, that's going to be way more beneficial for you in the long run when you're building wealth. Not to mention, you'll have a much better experience because your emotions aren't going to be played with all the time when you have like an investor mentality and outlook. And I think that's part of it as well, kind of the difference between those two. So hope you guys found some value with hearing our 2 cents. And to kind of wrap things up, I want to keep this episode short. Sage, where can people find more information about us?
Yeah, so follow us on Twitter, Instagram, at Gerber Kawasaki. You can also check out our bios online. Kyle Clark, Sage Casaga, and Ziad Hijazi, and find out a little bit more information about the firm as well as, our backgrounds. And feel free to reach out, and we're happy to assist you.
Awesome. And with that, I hope everyone stays safe and healthy. Until next time, this is Kyle Clark, Ziad Hijazi, and Sage Casaga signing off.